It's the I Can't Mom Today podcast with Heather, the new mom, and Vera, the seasoned mom. I Can't Mom Today.
Hey, this is the I Can't Mom Today podcast, episode 4. Here with you, Heather and Vera, and special guest Carrie. Say hi, Carrie and Vera.
Hey.
Today, 2 of the 3 of us are feeling under the weather.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit froggy this morning. I don't know if there's something in the air or what, but I'm a little raspy.
Yeah, I definitely caught the kids cold.
Mom life, right?
The back to school
Oh,
cold.
seriously. Yep. Yeah.
So, Carrie, maybe we should tell a little bit. I mean, if you've listened to previous podcasts, you know, Heather has a 1-year-old named Baker.
One
and
today.
I have one today.
One today. Happy birthday, Baker.
And I have a 15-year-old named Lucas, who actually goes to the same high school as Carrie's 2 girls. You want to talk about your 2 girls?
Yeah, so I have oh gosh, look, I'm already trying to make her 18. Kyla is 17. She'll be 18 in February, but she's been talking about the fact that she'll be 18 for the last 2 years. So,
I'm sure.
But she's still only 17. She's a senior in high school, and Alina is 14, and she is a freshman in high school.
Yay.
And I babysat all 3 of them.
Yes, Heather.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Yeah, Vera hooked us up with Heather.
Yep.
So now look at this, and here we are with Baker turning 1.
I know, it's crazy.
Our kids could totally babysit Baker.
Okay, send her over.
Well, and it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. It's a good thing our kids didn't turn her against motherhood too. So
I know.
They tried.
Well, they may have, except for she forgot, which is
she forgot. It took a few years. Oh my God, I just snorted. Okay. So yes, so you're talking about breastfeeding, which is funny because I know because Carrie was not just my Lamaze coach when Lucas was born, who was there and a super awesome friend to do that for me. But also when I had problems, when I was first trying to breastfeed, I was like, Carrie, help me.
Okay, so real quick, this may be a TMI episode. So if you get squeamish, I mean, this is like we're throwing it out on the table. If you can't hear a certain word, then you should probably tune out now. No offense taken.
Gory details about breastfeeding.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you've been wanting to know.
I was going to say, I was definitely one of those people that was like, woohoo, go for it. You should do it.
Yeah.
And I think I did share the gory details. So I'm happy to share gory details.
But I think that's important.
So awesome. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So do you want to start? Well, Heather, since yours is most recent, when did you stop breastfeeding Baker?
Well, our journey didn't last very long in the traditional sense of breastfeeding. I'm still pumping, but I've separated it. So I'm doing like every 2 days just to kind of slow my body down. And so it just stops. But yeah, he had like a tongue tie. And so his latch was really terrible. We had that clipped. It still wasn't fantastic. And the combination of I had a breast reduction when I was younger and also flat nipples, it was just a disaster. So I've just exclusively pumped since probably about 3 months old. It was 3 months of fighting with him and having the nipple shields and
what's the name of that goopy stuff you put on your nipples?
Lanasil
yes. Oh.
Yeah, I can't believe I remember that 14 years later.
I know, man.
Well, it's like your lotion. You do it like multiple times a day.
Yeah. Well, because what it does is that I'm explaining for those who are not quite into this world yet, but it hardens everything so that because your nipples can bleed, which has happened to me. Did it happen to you, Heather?
No.
It did not happen to me, but Vera, I remember when it happened to you, and oh my gosh, I remember you were in some pain.
Oh yeah. Well, and I also got mastitis, that infection that you can get in your milk ducts. And so I had between that. So then it's like, well, you got to keep breastfeeding even through the pain. And you're like, holy cannoli, I cannot look at scabs on my boobs. And so it was really hard. But I powered through for about 2 months. But I also went back to work earlier than I expected. So going to work and having to pump at work. And I didn't have an electronic pump. I only had a hand pump. So I had to use my hand. Yes.
Yeah, those were the days, Heather.
Yeah, man.
I
was
have
cold.
a portable one that I can.
Yeah, lucky girl. So you consider yourself lucky. You're like swanky and stuff. I had to do it all. I was building my biceps, man, with that little like thing.
No.
Yeah.
No, pass.
Yeah, it was
and
awful.
so much changed in between, like with me and my girls, they're 3.5 years apart. So much changed even from Kyla to Alina.
Well,
so
and
I didn't have I didn't have the dairy farm machine. I had the manual one. Actually, I had the battery operated one where you had to squeeze it. Yeah, and with Kyla and then with Lena, you know what? Someone gave me their double breast pump that was, I guess, the top of the line, and I just had to buy the little parts to go in it.
I remember
that.
Like,
yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Well, so tell, because you had a very different. Heather and I are telling horror stories, but you had a lot of luck with it.
I had an amazing experience. And so while I say I really promoted breastfeeding, I also didn't shove it down anyone's throat because I knew I had a very special experience.
Yeah.
So I shared my experience. Vera, I remember sharing my experience with you too when you were pregnant with Luke, and just saying, everybody has their, experience, and mine was really good, and let me explain it to you. So, but at the same time, there were some people who were not even inclined to want to try to breastfeed, who I knew, and then, of course, there were others who gave it their all, and no matter how much they gave, they couldn't. Their body wasn't cooperating.
Yeah.
But I had a really great experience with both kids. I can remember when I had Kyla, my first child, I was in the hospital. I'd heard, make sure you get a lactation consultant come into your hospital room before you leave, and they'll, hook you and the baby up and show you all the great moves. And it was really helpful because my boobs were huge by the time I gave birth. And I'm talking, I don't think they make bras that big anymore but the lactation consultant came in and showed me a different way to hold her while I was breastfeeding. And I remember she called it the football hold. And so that really helped. And then, she helped me latch on. Kyla took right to it, and I did too. The only time I was really uncomfortable was when the milk came in, because I see I'm forgetting all the terminology now. I've let it all go. But maybe a week into it, and then it was painful because my boobs got even bigger and like hard as a rock. Breastfeeding actually relieved the pain. And then my other uncomfortable experience is the fact that I could just think about breastfeeding and both would start, the front of my shirt would just be wet, soaking wet.
Did they not have breast
sprinkler system?
Every single time I breastfed, both girls actually, I would have to put triple breast pads in the other breast.
What?
On my bra on the other breast, yes. Because as soon as I would start feeding on one side, the other one would let down too. And I would just be soaked. And sometimes the breast pads did not work. And the other thing is, I found out if I put pressure, so I would hold the baby on one side and use my arm, other arm of the other side to put pressure on my nipples so that it would help maybe stop the flow from that side. So anywhere I went, if I had to breastfeed, I risked my shirt.
Yeah.
I risked my shirt becoming a mess.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that was the thing for me. Like when I, since I only lasted a couple of months, see, I say that and it's very derogatory about myself, and I shouldn't say it that way.
No,
I only
I know.
breastfed
You
for
were
a couple of months.
disappointed. Yeah.
I was planning on everything was going to be perfect. I was going to have the best labor because I worked out. I ate nothing but spinach practically for I was eating right and working out and doing everything right, following everything by the book. I had the crazy 32-hour labor, and then I couldn't breastfeed for the life of me. And I thought I was going to breastfeed forever. I was going to do everything natural. Yeah. So again, I try to bring that point up. It's not always what you expect. That after the 2 months, I I'm trying to wean off of it. And that's what would happen to me too. If I wore a shirt, even with the breast pad, it would still leak around that. And it was almost kind of like feeling like, when you have your period and you leak out of your tampon or your pad or whatever, it's like, you just feel like, good God, I always have something coming out of my body unexpectedly. you know? And I'm so over it. And I'm so tired of feeling like I need to carry an extra piece of clothing or something with me everywhere.
Yeah, I can remember after I had Alina, my second child, and she was a couple weeks old, and I had a home daycare, and a good friend of mine had a home daycare also, and when we would get our kids together from the home daycare. I remember I had all my home daycare kids dropped off at her house, and I showed up with Alina and Kyla, and I get out of the car, and there were some parents kind of in the driveway. They were dropping their kids off, and all of a sudden I could feel the tingling on both of my breasts. My shirt just starts getting these round, wet spots on both sides. I remember one of the dads just looking at me like, oh, like, I don't know what to do right now, and maybe I should look away. And I was like, sorry, yeah, welcome to the world of mother.
So he knew, you knew that he knew at the time? Like, it wasn't one of those later on you found out he knew?
Oh, no, it was obvious because I was wearing like a pink shirt, and these were like, you've seen, sweaty armpit.
Yeah.
Mark but that was right in front of both of them. And it wasn't like it spread across. I mean, it was clearly like somebody drew a big circle around both of my boobs.
Oh.
It was so embarrassing. So, and then of course I just made fun of it, and he laughed, and that was all I could do. But I was thinking, I can't go anywhere. And I smelled like a milk farm.
Oh. Yeah, and I never liked the way milk smelled to begin with, regular milk, except when I was pregnant. I drank it all the time because I loved it when I was pregnant. But yeah, and then I felt like everything I owned had like breast milk somewhere on it, and it smelled, everything smelled like everywhere I went, I smelled milk.
Yeah, that's the way I felt. Yeah.
Yeah, milk everywhere. Ugh.
I didn't have that.
I say all that, but once we got past the first few months, I still had to wear the breast pads, but it wasn't quite as out of control. And I could control it. There were very few quote accidents after that, but I had an amazing
How long did you breastfeed both of them?
Both of them were 13 months. My goal was a year, and they started, and again, because I had the home daycare, it was much easier for me because while I did pump so my husband could, give them a bottle, I, for the most part, I was able to latch them on right anywhere. But my goal was a year, and probably as we got closer to the year for both of them, they stopped kind of like, I guess, asking for it.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say, but so I would notice just the pattern kind of shifting, and it got to just them wanting to nurse at night before bed, and that was, of course, what I wanted to. It was my favorite time of the day.
Yeah.
And then they just got to and it was funny because it was both of them at 13 months where it was just kind of like, okay, they went to bed. And I was like,
oh. Well, see, I could see that would be very sweet. Although I always say, and again, no judgment on anyone who decides to breastfeed for a long time, but I do know someone who breastfed her son till he was like 4. And he could ask for it, and he would call it mop.
Oh,
and mop. And I'm like,
I knew someone. Yeah, sorry.
4? No, it's okay. But 4, just to me, like, ooh. But again, I don't want to judge on anybody. But when they can ask for, like, walk around and try and grab your boob like they own it, like that just kind of weirds me out.
Well, that's like, where your line is.
Whose son called it nip nip.
Oh, nip nip. Yeah, exactly. Anyway. We all have our lines, and my line was, would have been, I think I would have strived for like right around maybe 7-8 months, right when they really start getting into, real food.
Or teeth.
Probably. Yes, teeth. Yeah. Teeth scared the bejesus out of me. Yeah, after everything I'd been through, I was like, if I get to
I'm sure.
this much longer and the teeth show up, wah! So
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Mine both were right around 9 months when they got their first. So it was also probably a blessing for me in that sense too.
Yeah. Teeth.
Yeah. Pass.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned earlier, I wanted to say too, what you mentioned about the tongue tie, Heather, for anybody who doesn't know what that is.
Yeah, it's where the frenulum, it's what's on, it connects your tongue to your mouth basically. It was too forward on his tongue. So when he stuck out his tongue, it the tip of it looked like a heart shape. And so that's a clear indication. They also have, I think, lip ties. So it could be on the upper and lower. I don't know if the back. Anyways, there's a lot of ties that can happen. So I also had a lactation consultant in the hospital, and for me, I did a lot of research beforehand because I had the breast reduction. So it's called BFAR, which is breastfeeding after reduction. And so there's a whole group on Facebook about it. The ladies are really super supportive. And there's a book about it. So I did a ton of research beforehand. And knowing that some people only produce like an ounce a day and some people produced, more than was needed. I was kind of in the middle. The max I produced was about 22 ounces, and it still wasn't enough because Baker is a pig.
He's a hoss.
No, he really is gigantic. He's like 25 pounds, a year old. Holy cow.
Wow.
Yeah. That's big.
And so I never produced enough. So we had bought formula, or we had formula on hand from the beginning. And now I'm only making about 2 ounces a day. So I pump once every other day now, just to, kind of slowly wean, because I didn't have mastitis. I had a clogged duct, but now they have a ton of like herbal supplies and everything else. And sunflower lecithin is what I used to like kind of thin out the milk so it's easier to get out.
Oh.
And then there was like a milk duct something that I took as well, because I got a couple of them. Those things are painful. And I kept getting them. And so what I would do is I bought a vibrator just for that to try to work it out. Because I was like, this is so painful. It's not coming out. And so, yeah, that's what I did.
That's what I used. Heating pads. I bought those. Oh, I remember now. It's all coming back to me now. Those things, those like icy hot thing. They're like a pad, and you can put it on your boobs.
Yeah.
I put those on my boobs.
Well, now they have they have like little booby shaped ones, so you can actually put on while you're pumping or breastfeeding.
Yeah, see,
how cool
they
is
didn't
that?
have some of that stuff 15 years ago.
No.
It didn't. It didn't work for me because it wouldn't get hot enough, and you had a microwave. It was just I didn't like them, but some people live and die by them. I did a heating pad though for the few times that I got it, and also Carrie, for any friends of yours that might be breastfeeding that you're going to help out, and for our listeners, there is this thing called a Haka pump, and it's not. There's a couple, it's like a manual pump is what they call it, but it really just suction cups on your boob. And that's what I did because I had the same problem when I breastfed. The opposite side would leak, and I was like, I'm missing out on all this milk.
I know.
And I would get like an ounce sometimes just by putting it on the other side.
I did, now that you mentioned it, I do remember doing that when I don't remember which one. It must have been Alina, the second one I became wise to this process. I do remember putting the bottle with the suction thing on it.
Yeah.
And I can remember getting, that's right, I forgot about that. I did that a few times. That would be like during the day when
when you're at home or something.
all my stuff set up.
Yeah. Well,
it's a process. It totally is.
Oh.
Yeah, that whole I'm amazed at the women that it's just like, oh, I gotta feed my baby, bloop, and then there it is, and it looks so easy. Which again, God bless them. I totally envy that. I wish that I had that experience. So, more power to them. But that I'll never forget, Carrie, when you said to me, because when I was struggling with the breastfeeding and the pumping and the whatever, and you were like, yeah, I never understood the term "don't cry over spilt milk" until I started breastfeeding.
Oh, let's talk about that. Liquid gold.
Yeah, man.
Am I right? Oh my goodness. I do remember crying one time when I knocked over the little bottle that I had finally gotten, because with those other pumps, like the battery operated one I had, it just wasn't as good. And like I said, I had no problem with the milk flow, but when I went to pump, I felt like I wasn't getting enough. And with Kyla, I know I said I had a home daycare, but when I had Kyla at first, I was working outside of the home, and so I took maternity leave. And at that time, I was actually using my maternity leave to also set up my home daycare. But I wasn't quite ready. And so I did have to go back to work until Kyla was about 4 months old. And so while I was at work, I would have to pump. And yes, I was so stressed because that I wouldn't get enough for her through the bottle to have with my friend who had the home daycare who was watching her. I was so stressed about it. And I can remember one time accidentally knocking it over, and I just cried. It was so devastating to me
that happened
because
to
I was
me.
like, "That my baby needs that,"
And
I worked so hard for that 2 ounces.
Exactly. That's what. And then of course you're stressed out, and everything, no matter what you do when you're pregnant or breastfeeding or when the child's small, whatever, motherhood in general, people say, "Don't get stressed out. It'll just make things worse." And you're like, you want to just like drop kick that person. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a little stressed. I can't control my stress.
Just saying that stresses me out.
Exactly. Saying that stresses me out.
Baker wasted a lot of milk because he was just he's such a finicky little baby that he doesn't have a schedule. I mean, we try to keep him on a schedule, but one day he'll eat 30 ounces of milk. And then next day, literally, it'd be like 15. You're like, what is going on, child? So I just got to the point where I made sure to save up the milk that I was producing and give it to him in the morning because I got so tired of him wasting it. I was like, this child. I am working so hard for this.
Liquid gold, man. Liquid gold.
No, and not only that, but we use it for everything, like diaper rash. And did you know you could put it up their nose when they have a cold?
No.
Stop it.
Yes.
Really?
I'd squeeze it up there all the time when he was a little baby. Yep.
Weird. And it's supposed to, what does that do? It declogs his nose?
I don't know, but I was told by a medical professional that was something you could do. And I said, okay.
Wow.
What was I going to ask? I was going to ask something. Oh, shoot.
Mom brain sticks around.
Exactly.
Well, I was going to say with the whole thing with the breastfeeding and then the bottle feeding, going back and forth, the challenges with that, because I was home with both of my kids, and like I said, with Kyla starting at 4 months, permanently home with her, she was a little bit better with taking a bottle so that my husband could give her a bottle or we could go somewhere and she could get a bottle. But with Alina, we could not get her to take a bottle for anything. And I remember people telling me, well, it's probably because you're in the room. So my husband and I think it was like a day date or something. We took her to, my friend watched her for a couple of hours. We took the bottles and she did not take a bottle the whole time she was with her. And so I was pretty much stuck. I was really pretty much stuck until she started eating solids.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
And we tried all kinds of different bottles too. She just would not do it, and she would pitch the biggest fit. And so of course you've got this hungry baby. So I don't know. I think there are different opinions out there, and of course, like you've been saying, Vera, it's no judgment. Everybody has their experience, and but some people recommend, if you're going to breastfeed, also, very early on, give them breast milk through a bottle so that you won't have those problems. But then there are other people who are very adamant, no, the baby stays on the breast. And so
nipple confusion.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's, it's like you got to understand your lifestyle. And this is something that I've said in previous episodes is that, you've got to take care of yourself. And people say that when you're pregnant, like, make sure you take care of yourself. If you're not happy, the baby's not going to be happy. Well, all that goes out the window. I don't know about you guys, but it's really hard to focus on yourself because you're so focused on this other little being that's all yours. And, that lived in your body for 9.5 months or 10 months or whatever. And so it's very hard. But that thinking about, do you want to be able to go places and have other people feed your baby? So then you make it a priority to try and battle nipple confusion or whatever. But other people are totally fine with the fact that they're going to have their baby with them all the time and they're going to be the sole provider of their nutrition for several months, and do what's best for you, but do think about how you live your life and how that would be what I would tell people is you and the baby are individuals, but you got to think about how your life goes. But that's what I was going to ask is different food. There were certain things that I could not eat when I was breastfeeding because it would give Lucas the craziest gas. And I didn't even realize that can happen, but he would get gas. And I found out after reading that certain things like broccoli, I could not eat broccoli. And I love broccoli and it's healthy. And I would be like, oh, give me some broccoli. Well, no, it did not agree with him, which is so funny to me because it's all ground up. What difference does it make? But yeah, no, there's some kind of component in broccoli that he did not like, and he'd get so gassy and upset. Did you guys have any of that with your kids?
No.
No?
I don't think I did. I mean, again, it's been so long, but nothing stands out. And so I'm going to say probably not. I don't think we had any issues with that, with food. Although I've heard that other people have.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember. Oh, my girlfriend, Erica, she had, I think she couldn't eat any cheese, any dairy.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, no cheese.
How interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how our bodies are so different and that's so wild.
It really is. I mean, they are totally different. Like I said, we're all individual, our kids are all individual, and it's every experience can be so different.
I had different things with formula. So we used some of the samples at first that you get from every company and just to see what would work okay with him, and some of them worked, and then all of a sudden he just stopped taking one. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like he would just gag on it every time, or he would spit up. And so we tried a lot of different ones, and we finally wound up getting a German formula.
What was it called?
Interesting.
Whole. So it's HOLLE, and it doesn't have like the DHA and AHA, so we had to add that, and I wasn't very good at doing that. But he was primarily breast milk. He was 1 bottle a day of formula when he was really little, so I really didn't worry too much. And we tried, I tried to remember the best I could because you have to refrigerate it. It's just a pain in the butt. But he loved it, and it didn't stink. That was my selling point. I was like,
oh yeah.
The formula didn't smell very good.
No, it smells so gross.
Yeah. I did that as a backup too, again, because I don't think I produced quite enough. So I used it as a backup. Plus, too, when he wasn't sleeping, that was one of the suggestions was try adding some formula or some cereal or something to the milk to make it, of course, none of it worked. But yeah, I didn't like the way the formula smelled. Ugh, stinky.
Yeah, well, the same brand, the level 2, it smelled gross, and so we went back to level 1 because our doctor was like, yeah, it's fine. I mean, he's eating it. The only thing that's different, I think, is iron, but he doesn't have any deficiencies, so
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, just so interesting.
It really is how different everybody's experiences can be. And then, somebody always try and tell you, oh, well, you should try this. And you're like, okay. And it never works.
Yeah, everybody has advice, right?
Yes. Yes. And not all lactation consultants are the same either, because if you don't like your lactation consultant, do not stick with them. Go to a different one.
That's a good point too, because I know some people have had experiences where they struggled and the lactation consultant kind of treated them like they were dumb and were very judgy if the person said, I don't know if I can do this. And they were like, you have to do it. This is what's best for your baby.
And that's just so wrong. I mean, my experience was good because, she was so nurturing and just patient and helpful. And that time in your life and what you're going through, it should be absolutely somebody who's just there to help you listen to your body.
Oh, for sure.
In my circumstance, there are specific BFAR lactation consultants as well, because I know that some of the ladies in my group are just like, oh my God, they treated me like it was my fault that I wasn't doing it, and that they just dismissed me automatically, told me to give them formula no matter what.
Yeah.
And and don't get me wrong, if your baby's screaming and not gaining weight, chances are likely you need to supplement, but don't do it.
Don't let anyone make you feel bad. That's what
try.
Makes me so mad, because here we are. It's like you said, Carrie, at this time in your life, you're exhausted. You've just been through a very, after giving birth to a baby, good God, they don't call it labor for nothing. And
you mean he didn't just walk out and go, hey,
right, what's up?
And no manual.
No manual. And, and you're hormonal. And the fact that sometimes we get treated so badly by other women, no less.
Yeah. It's the worst. Women are the worst, truthfully.
Yeah. Or it's horrific. And it makes me angry. And I think that's a culture that really needs to change, but
absolutely.
it's been around for thousands of years. So we've got to figure that out. But I
was just going to say to that point too, not only make sure you have, a lactation consultant you connect with, but like we've been discussing, people love to share their own experiences and love to tell you what you should do if something's not working for you. And we all know, especially, at that stage, or anyone who's almost desperate for a solution to something they're going through, you'll take that first piece of advice and just go for it.
Yeah.
And then add on the sleep deprived and exhaustion, the hormones and all of that. Just don't be afraid to ask a lot of people their experience and try things out, and then don't shame yourself if it doesn't work for you.
Right.
Just because somebody else has had such a great experience doing something. But don't give up either. Just
hang in there.
Yeah, use your support.
Yeah, Carrie was mine, literally calling her at like 10 o'clock at night. My milk came in, I don't know what to do, and I can't get it to come out.
I can remember coming over and just being like feeling like I had my doctor bag. Here I come. I remember bringing you the Lanasil and just being like, try this. And but at the same time, I think I'd like to think that I was, while I was trying to be very encouraging, also, very supportive. And if you need to do something different, that's okay.
Yeah, no,
you
were.
You
were amazing. Yeah. If you ever, needed to switch jobs, I would totally say you could do something like that. Listen to her laugh. Yeah, right now.
Well, I think probably my lesson learned was just hearing horror stories from other people where they felt like, people are so adamant about the breastfeeding, and, where when it doesn't work, or when it works differently for other people, just feeling so shamed that they can't be that sole provider for their baby. And that's just not the case. And I remember a good friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, Vera, who she just knew through pregnancy she was not going to breastfeed. And that was her decision, her body, and her choice. She was also somebody who was looking forward to getting right back out into the working world and was okay with that.
Yep.
And I think so often people get on their high horse and say, but the health benefits of breastfeeding. And yes, of course we know that the health benefits of breastfeeding, but we've got to support each other.
She knew to do what was best for her, and not to put herself through all that, especially if she was planning on getting right back to work, and that goes along, again, the same lines of knowing yourself, knowing the lifestyle you plan on having, and don't let anybody shame you, because we've all, I don't know about you, but my mom didn't breastfeed me or my sister at all.
Oh, I remember my mom, I remember when I told my mom I was going to breastfeed, she was like, ew.
Yeah, my mom was like that too. That's why my mom couldn't help me, remember? Because my mom was here. And she's like, I don't know, I didn't breastfeed. None of us breastfed in my generation. So.
My mom thought it was gross.
Yeah, my mom did too. See? Different it can be generation to generation.
Yeah. So she definitely couldn't help me.
Yep. Nope. Our moms are no help. That's too funny.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Carrie and Vera,
both
for helping us out, helping our listeners.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. This has been fun, and actually really neat to just kind of reminisce on our fun experiences.
Especially on your soon-to-be 18-year-old.
I know.
I know.
Don't you forget it now.
It's great.
If you have any stories, if you want to share your breastfeeding journey with us, we'd love to hear it. Just go to Facebook and I Can't Mom Today. You can also share it on our Instagram, I Can't Mom Today podcast. You can email it to us, I Can't Mom Today podcast @gmail.com.
And if you have any questions too, yeah.
Yes, if you have questions, we're here to help. I mean, we're by no means professionals.
Right.
Medical or otherwise. So, but we can, give you our experiences and definitely commiserate with you if you need somebody just to listen or to go, haha, that is funny. I did that too.
Yeah.
And definitely, I know I one time I was breastfeeding and Baker popped off and milk went right in his eye. And I was like, well, sorry, bud.
That happened to me.
My bad.
Yeah. So if you want to reach out to us, we're more than welcome to, or more than happy to listen to you.
We're here.
Yeah.
Yay.
Subscribe, give us a review, leave us a rating. We'd love to hear your feedback.
Unless it's bad. I'm just kidding.
Then we'll give you Carrie's email address.
Yeah.
Awesome. Till next week, guys. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.